Welcome to Swoop Podcast, and here are your hosts, Dante Fantuzzi and Josh Sanchez.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Swoop Podcast. It's your guest for tonight, Dante Fantuzzi. I'm here with my partner,
Josh Sanchez.
And just to give a little announcement before we actually get started, to all our listeners, I beg for your forgiveness. I am feeling a little bit under the blue. I woke up with a sore throat, with a little stuffy nose. So if I talk a little weird or talk a little lispy because of my voice, and I'm trying to keep my mouth closed because of my throat hurting, so just bear with me, and we're going to get started right now.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, well, it does. Happens.
Yep.
So to start up, well, before we get into anything, how was your weekend, Josh?
My weekend was good. I'm ready for the semester to end for the most part. So, and then I'm having a little family issue right now. My little sister is in the hospital.
Ooh, is she alright?
Yeah, she's alright. It's her appendix. She had stomach pains all week, so I just hope everything goes well. She's in the hospital now, so yeah, so I'm going to see her tomorrow. So, so I hope everything's good. So I'm just ready to move on and let's talk about Swoop Podcast, today's topics for tonight.
I'm here with you, brother. To start off with our first topic, breaking news a little bit. Kendrick Perkins went on TNT Live and came out and said that after Russell Westbrook broke Oscar Robertson's record, KD reached out to him, and the two are talking again. Josh, what are your opinions and thoughts about that? How does that make you feel, being an NBA fan?
I'm actually going to go in a different direction. I think it makes me... I feel actually a lot better now about the NBA because I just feel like the media really blew Russell and KD out of proportion. What KD did was completely wrong. Like, he didn't even talk to Westbrook before he left, which was downright disrespectful for someone that you call a little brother. So I get that side, but I feel like they really didn't have that much beef. It's just the media just
made
a big deal about it. They tried every time, we saw in the beginning of the season, in the beginning of before every game, it was well, how do you think about Russ? How do you think about KD? The media was trying to get them to publicly say something that they would regret, but both of them stood strong mentally, and they both really just didn't care about the situation anymore. They moved on anymore. My fault. They moved on from the situation. So I just think it was the media trying to make something big out of nothing, and they really didn't do they didn't pass their job because they're trying to make something big, but it just wasn't working. But I actually agree with what Kendrick Perkins says. Kendrick Perkins also said later that he could see KD coming back to Oklahoma, or he can see him and Russ playing somewhere else. But he doesn't really see Russell Westbrook leaving OKC just because he's been his teammate for the longest time, and Russell Westbrook's that type of guy that'll stay with one team for his whole career. He doesn't care about big-time players coming to OKC. He doesn't ask for he doesn't reach out to players.
He doesn't recruit.
He doesn't recruit, yeah. So he just likes to stay in one area and just dominate like he's been doing. So that's just how Russell Westbrook is. So I am, as a fan, I would like to see it a little bit blown out of proportion, but KD and Russell Westbrook both showed maturity, and it wasn't that big of a thing as what people were thinking of making it. So that was just my opinion on it.
Well, to give my opinion, I honestly think that KD reaching out to Russell Westbrook was a very, very smart thing for him to do, because let's just say if the Warriors do not plan out to be and don't win the NBA Finals. Now remember, he has the option to either opt out of that contract or opt into it. If he opts into it, what is it, $27 million he's gonna get? And
yes,
you still
$27 million.
And you still need to pay Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green. Okay? I don't think they necessarily have enough money for all three players combined. It's just me. So I honestly think that was the smartest thing for him to do, because let's just say if he does opt out of that contract, they don't have enough money to pay all four players what they're really worth.
Unless one of them takes a pay cut.
I can't see neither one doing that. Now,
Stephen Curry will take a pay cut.
He will, but he's not going to take too much of a pay cut because he has come out and say that he would go back to Charlotte and play for his hometown team. Now, if they give him the right amount of money that he can agree to, take a pay cut, but you're still going to pay me type thing, okay. But if you're just trying to blow the man and not give him what he's worth, I'll see him going back to Charlotte, his hometown. But just to finish off the point I was trying to make, if the Warriors don't win the finals and that whole thing plays out to be just a complete bust, and KD does decide to opt out of that contract, no other contending team for an NBA title would really have the money to give KD what he wants.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, I don't see the Wizards having the money from. The Clippers don't have the money. The Cavaliers definitely don't have the money. The Spurs, they don't pay anybody over $15 million.
And he already said no to Boston, so Boston's not
in it.
They're not gonna reach out for him.
So those are 7 teams right there. Basically, I think those were like 7 teams I just named.
Yes.
Though I don't think they have the money for him, and I not even think they just don't have the money for him. So him reaching out back to Russell is the stepping stone for him to go back to OKC if nothing plans out with the Warriors.
Now
That's probably the only team to me that will really take him back. And him and Russell are now talking again. So I'm pretty sure that Russell will forgive and forget, and just move on with it. And that's the stepping stone for KD to go back.
Now, you said if the Warriors lose the finals. I think if the Warriors win the finals, I think he'll leave and go to OKC. Go back. He might go back. Now, I'm kind of flip flop from what you're saying. You're saying if they lose, he'll leave. I think if they win, he'll leave. And I think if they'll lose, because he still has an option to stay.
I mean, honestly, I think if they win, he'll opt into the contract
and then try to win again.
Try and win another ring. That's if they win. But if they lose, it'll just be the complete definition, legit definition of a bust. Because now you have 4 superstars on one team, and you still can't win a ring. Come on, that's the legit definition of a bust.
True, and I mean, we've said it ever since day one. It's going to be Warriors and Cavs, and we're pretty much going to get that.
No, I said the Spurs.
You said the Spurs.
I said the Spurs.
You're the person.
But now it's kind of looking like the Spurs can't even run with the Rockets. And
I know the Rockets
right now, it just seems like the only team that can run with the Warriors right now are the Rockets. Seem like the only team that can run with them, that can run with the Warriors. I don't necessarily see the Spurs how they can run with the Warriors. I don't see how. Well, I just necessarily don't see how the Spurs can run with them, because Greg Popovich has. How can I explain it? Their culture of basketball isn't necessarily up to date with how our basketball is now. What I mean by that is they don't go small. That's one. 2, they pretty much only have one superstar on the team. LaMarcus Aldridge says he went to San Antonio. Hasn't really done anything there. Paul Gasol, he's too slow to run up and down the court, if you ask me. So is Aldridge.
So I don't think their style's out the date. I just think they just don't have the athleticism on the team. Like when you think of the Spurs, you don't really see a lot of alley-oops. You don't really see a lot of run and go style. Like they're more of like.
But that's the style. That's the style of the NBA right now. That's what I meant by they're not in today's culture. They're still stuck in that big man culture, where they run the triangle offense still, with the big man. Now, I mean, honestly, between the Spurs and the Warriors, not too many teams in the NBA run plays besides those 2 teams.
Yeah, the Spurs, they run a lot of plays. They
run a
have
lot
that
of
system
plays.
that just always.
And honestly,
always
I think it's time for them to go younger. I mean, you still have Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, who are very, very old.
They just need more athleticism.
Paul
on the
Gasol,
team.
he's old. I think it's time for him to go younger. A little bit more athleticism. And, I believe they still have the depth. But the two things I'm just going to name out, they need to go younger and they need to go more athletic. I think, to me, they're still stuck in that early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s phase, where it was just run by all big men with your one superstar and go out and run that Spurs offense like they run now, or like Kobe, that triangle offense, and just go out and run it, nobody can stop it type thing. And that's why I just still say that they're not in today's culture playing basketball.
I mean, they're still good enough to be in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, they
and
still
to win
are.
60,
Yeah,
and to win close to like 60 games a year.
Yeah, but remember though, when it comes to the playoffs, it's all about matchups. And right now, I don't really think they have much favoritism in the matchups.
The
Warriors and the Rockets are very small and shooting teams. Now I know the Spurs are a shooting team, but they just can't go small like those two teams could. And then when it gets to a point in the game where they start running and gunning, the Spurs definitely don't have that. They don't have that team to go running and gunning every single time and have their big man run up and down the court like the Spurs and the Rockets could.
The Spurs, this is my last comment I'm going to say on the Spurs. They kind of remind me of like the Steelers in the NFL, like right now.
Mm-hmm.
Only because, they have a big championship pedigree, and they're good enough to make that title game, but it's just the Patriots are just stand right there in their way every time. And that's just what I feel right now. Like a couple years ago, they didn't have anyone. They had OKC, but the Spurs, they were a little bit younger than they are now. Now they're older. 2-3 years makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. Like when they played OKC and they played LeBron in the finals back-to-back years, it's not a big difference, but 32, 33 years old and now being 34, 35, it hits you a little bit. That's what you can see with Tony Parker.
The age definitely does hit at a certain time in basketball.
And those were the last few good years Tim Duncan gave.
Honestly, I think a prime example right now can be Vince Carter. That age definitely has hit, and he's not as explosive as he once was. Same thing for LeBron. LeBron wasn't as explosive, but the reason why I use Vince Carter as a prime example is because he's not as explosive. He's gotten a lot slower, and he's not as he can't do some of the things he used to do when he was younger.
Yeah.
So I just use him as a prime example.
So yeah, I just think the Spurs need to get younger and they need to get more athleticism. So
yeah. So to move on with our next topic, I'm gonna let you hit this one, Josh, because you know more about it than I do.
All right. So on TNT segment, Kevin Garnett's segment of Area 21, he had his former teammates from the 2008 championship team, Paul Pierce, Rajon Rondo, Kendrick Perkins, and so on and so forth. They were there talking, and they're going to have a 10-year reunion of their 2008 championship where they beat the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to invite Ray Allen to the event because of what Ray Allen did in 2012. He left the Boston Celtics without telling anybody, sort of like what KD did, to go to their rival, the Miami Heat. And you know the story from there. He hit the big shot and won another ring with Miami. But you know how Kevin Garnett is as a competitor. For him, there's two sides. I remember I was listening to this on ESPN. There's two sides with Kevin Garnett. It's either you're with him or you're not with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought, Paul Pierce was with him. He was his teammate throughout his whole career. And Ray Allen, they had a big brotherhood. They had that friendship, and he just left like that. He took it to heart.
Mm-hmm.
And Ray Allen is a Hall of Fame player, but he's getting a bad rap with the 08 team and his teammates because they just still cannot forgive him for what he did. And he hasn't reached out or talked to him. It's pretty much been Russ and KD, but there's been no forgiveness. Like it's like the media finally blew that out of proportion. Like it passed and blew Ray Allen out of proportion, but not Kevin Durant or Westbrook. So I just want to know, what are your opinions on like the Ray Allen and the Boston Celtics like feud that they're having right now?
Honestly, I think it's stupidity. When you're a grown man, and this is even for Kevin Durant, when you're a grown man, you can make the decisions you want and do the things that you want to do. And especially at the end of the day, basketball is a business and it is an entertainment. But you still holding on to a grudge that literally happened 6-7 years ago to this day shows that you're still childish. And it shows that you still have some type of stupidity in you to even be holding on to that and let that be the reason why you're not inviting Ray Allen to the 10th year anniversary, when necessarily he was a very big piece in that 2008 championship
he was
team.
A huge piece.
So that's like saying LeBron and D-Wade aren't going to invite Chris Bosh, when Chris Bosh had a legitimate role on that team and helped you get to win the ring. Or that's like saying Kevin Love and LeBron not inviting Kyrie Irving to a reunion when Kyrie Irving, who was the one that hit the game-winning jump shot. So that honestly shows stupidity and immaturity in Kevin Garnett. And he's, 40 years old? And you still let something that little hold on to you? And honestly, when did he leave? 2000? If LeBron joined the Heat in 2012, I believe it was.
I think he left. Well, LeBron joined the Miami Heat in 2011, right? The summer of, it was the 2011 season.
2011, 2012, right?
Yeah. And they went, no, because I know they went to the Eastern Conference Finals and played against each other. And then you know what happened. The Celtics were up 3-2 against the Heat, but then LeBron had that historic performance in Game 6, and then in Game 7 to win. And that was the last year of Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, because they went to Brooklyn in that lopsided trade that thank goodness we're not talking about the Brooklyn's GM right now, did. And then Ray Allen left that same summer too. I mean, Ray Allen had a good reason why to leave the Celtics. Because Avery Bradley,
so remember,
Avery Bradley was getting more playing time, and they also signed someone else too. I forget.
If they won the
Jason
championship
Terry.
in 2008 against the Lakers, and they haven't went back, did they go back ever since that 2008 championship?
Yeah, they lost. They lost the following year.
The following year, and remember they played the Spurs one time and they lost to the Spurs. They played the Spurs 2 times in the finals. The second time they lost, the first time they won.
What, the Celtics?
No, I'm talking about the Heat.
The Heat, okay.
The Heat. I'm talking about the Heat and the Spurs. Okay? They played twice in the finals. The second time they won, the Spurs won. The first time the Heat won. If we could recall, Ray Allen was the one that hit that jump shot in Game 6 in the corner.
Yes, that was for Miami, yes.
Yes.
He was the reason why Miami won the title.
I'm pretty... That was his first year, right? With the Heat, or his second year?
That was his first year.
That was his first year with the
Heat,
and that was in 2013.
Yes.
So, and you said the Celtics went back in 2009 and they lost?
Well, the Celtics went in 08 and won. Then the Magic beat the Magic went to the finals in 09 with Dwight Howard, and then the Celtics went back in 2010 and the Lakers won in Game 7.
And when did Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce get traded?
They left after that 2012 season when LeBron and his Heat team went to the finals to play the Mavericks. No, the OKC. That was OKC. Because, LeBron's been in the finals every year.
Mm-hmm.
Because LeBron played the Mavericks.
So they all left the same year?
Yeah.
So why is Kevin Garnett still making a big deal about it when they all left the same year? If that's the case, then. Because I remember Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce getting traded to the Nets. You remember that, right?
Yeah, didn't they get traded mid-season? I don't really know.
I can't remember when they got traded, but I do remember they got traded, and Ray Allen left. So I must have been within the same exact time span.
Yeah, it was probably around the same time span, maybe
And these players, and how old were they? what?
30, 33, 34. Like they're
in their mid-30s? And who wins a ring in their mid-30s? Well, like, who wins which three superstar players win rings that stay together? Like, you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, if they would have stayed together, I really doubt they had any chance in winning a ring, being in their mid-30s. Sorry, it's just not happening. So to me, it just goes back to my case of Kevin Garnett being childish and being stupidity. Shows his stupidity and being childish. That's all I have to say about him. Like, I don't even know why he's making a big deal about it.
Speaking
like,
of,
is he jealous? Ray Allen got another ring and he didn't.
I don't really know. It's just you know how some people are, like, they just have that personality. It's either you're with you or you're not with you.
Mm-hmm.
And he just probably thinks that, like, because you know how Kevin Garnett is as a competitor.
Yeah, he's a very deeply competitor.
He's a very highly competitive guy.
Yeah.
And what Ray Allen didn't even tell anybody. And he left to go to the rival. I don't really know. With some people, that's just something you'll never forget.
To me, it's just childish and stupid.
Yeah, but it's just sometimes that's just how people are, though. Sometimes you just don't really know. So.
I don't know.
But speaking of crazy comments, Draymond Green was talking last night, and he said he was asked a question about the Cavs and the Warriors because you know how they're both 8-0 in this postseason, and the games have not been the Pacers series was a little bit competitive, but the other series have not been competitive. It's been boring basketball to watch, boring games to watch, in my opinion. And he was asked a question about the Warriors and Cavs and about the question's pretty much summarizing like their competition. And he said the teams that the Warriors beat, he thinks were more competitive than the teams the Cavs beat. And he was pretty much bashing the teams in the Eastern Conference.
Josh, I'm not trying to stop you in what you're saying. I'm not trying to disrupt you.
Yeah, I was just introducing the topic.
No, I know. But Draymond Green should have stopped ahead of where he is. Because when you literally have two teams in the NBA who recruits literally every star player in the NBA, you shouldn't be talking about competition. If you want to talk about competition, break up those four superstars, like Kevin Durant, go back with the Thunder,
Curry,
LeBron.
go to Charlotte.
Like, if you want to talk about competition, then we shouldn't be having 3-4 superstars on one team, 2 to 4 superstars on one team. I can understand 2, but to me 2 should be the limit if you want to talk about competition. So the Warriors, they can go and break up their little 4-man superstar. The Cavs can go and break up their little 3-man superstar, build more competition around the league, if that's what you want to talk about competition.
Yeah, because, I mean, I'll quote what Draymond Green said word for word. He said, I thought the teams would compete a little bit harder, the teams as in the Eastern Conference teams. He said that he just watched San Antonio and Houston play, and he watched good basketball. And then he said when you watch Cleveland play, you're only watching one side of the good basketball. It's kind of weak.
So what are the Warriors?
I know.
I'm
just telling you.
We literally sat here like 2-3 podcasts ago saying that the Jazz would probably give them a little run for their money and go to 6. They swept them in 4.
I know.
And possibly won every game by double digits.
And the Jazz did not have George Hill in game 3 or 4, but.
So I believe Draymond Green should stop dead in his tracks. Because if he's saying anything and if he's doing anything, he's contradicting himself. Because you have 4 superstars on your team and literally came out as the number 1 team again for like the 3rd year straight in the NBA as the number 1 team in the league and have the most legitimate chance of going back to the finals. Stop dead in your tracks. Oh, and let's not forget, you signed Kevin Durant this offseason, which you really didn't need him because if Kevin Durant would have never went to the Warriors, I'm pretty sure they would have still been in the same situation that they're in.
Yeah,
probably having
I
to
agree with you
wait
on
for
that
either the Thunder, Rockets, or Spurs to play in the Western Conference Finals. So, Draymond Green, stop dead in your tracks, brother. Just stop dead in your tracks. Because what you're doing is you're contradicting yourself. And another thing I want to pinpoint that he contradicted himself about was saying Kelly Olynyk is a dirty player. At least he's not kicking people in their balls or trying to punch people in their balls. Sorry for my language, but at least he's not doing that type of stuff, and at least he's not committing at least 16 technicals in 1 year, leading the league in technicals every single season, like the last 2 seasons, possibly.
This
Don't
season,
call him.
This season he has been better, but
Don't sit here and say he's a dirty player when we all know your history and your background. So, Draymond Green, stop contradicting yourself.
Just stop.
Stop making yourself look even more stupid on air. Because what you're doing is you're just making yourself even look like a dummy, like you don't know basketball, and contradicting yourself. So just stop while you're there.
Now, real quick, this just brings up the question. People have been talking about this all season. Do you really think, because in your opinion, what do you think about these playoffs? Like, how do you think how these games have been so far? Like, in my opinion, I have not been.
Can I be honest with you?
I've not been watching any of the games except the Wizards and Celtics series and the Rockets and Spurs series. I don't watch any of the Cavs series or Warriors because I already know what's going to happen.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I haven't sat there and watched a full game yet of the NBA playoffs. I don't watch the Cavs and I don't watch the Warriors. Sorry, it's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Both teams have played 8 games, won 8 straight games. I haven't watched the Wizards and Celtics series. Sounds like the score. It is a pretty good series.
Yeah, it's been a good series, but
the
games have been lopsided each game though,
yeah.
except game 2.
The only game I sat there and watched and wasn't even the whole game was the Warriors and the Spurs, and I only watched quarters, second and third, the second quarter and the third quarter. Only thing I watched, literally, of the game that was on Friday night. So I haven't been paying attention.
You mean the Warriors and Jazz?
No, the Rockets and Spurs.
Oh, Rockets and Spurs. All right.
Mm-hmm. So besides that, I have not been watching the game. It might sound bad for me, but honestly, watching the Cavs win all the time gets boring. Watching the Warriors win all the time gets boring. I don't want to see teams constantly getting blown out by 20, 30, or double-digit points. I'm tired of watching it.
And it just tells you how hard it is to. It's hard to guard just one superstar player, but imagine 3 or 4 on each team is just impossible to guard. You take one away, the other 2 snap, or the other 3 snap. So, because like what the Jazz did in Game 3 was they held Curry and Thompson to shoot. They shot terrible, but then Kevin Durant dropped 38 points. Like I didn't even watch the game. I just looked at the recap, and Curry and Thompson both shot for like 20% combined. Awful shooting night. But then KD gives you 38. You still score over 100 points, and you still win by like 15 points.
So even when your 2 best players, well, arguably your 2 best players on the team, have horrible shooting nights, you still manage a way to win by 15. I don't understand. I literally, when Clay and Steph are shooting, what did you say, with 29%?
Yeah, they're shooting awful.
Shot awfully that game.
Awful.
And you still won by 15? That says something about with Draymond Green competition. Says, the Utah Jazz are not that bad. I'm sorry, but they're not that bad.
They're one of the best defensive teams in the league.
I don't see them being a bad team at all.
It's just you just have 4 superstars on the team.
Yeah, there's no way.
That's just what you have.
One team with 1 superstar can guard a team with 4 superstars. I'm sorry, I just can't see it happening.
You ready to move on to our next topic?
Yeah, let's hit it, bro.
Do you want to do the Sixers topic, or do you want to do the NHL and ESPN?
Well, since we're on basketball, I might as well just take the basketball really quickly. Honestly, I've just had this gut feeling where the Lakers. Well, it's not necessarily the Lakers. It's LeVar Ball. Talking about the Lakers this, Lakers that. When the Lakers get a ball, they're going to get a ball. Okay? I just have this gut feeling the Lakers are not going to get a top 3 pick.
And real quick, if you want to talk about LeVar Ball, how about Lonzo Ball's sneakers?
We're not even going to get into
$495 for a pair of sneakers.
Literally the worst sneaker I've ever seen.
Did you see the one picture on Twitter? They have the picture of Lonzo Ball like holding his shoe up. Mm-hmm. They said a tag. It said Marshalls retail $29.99 on sale.
But I just have a gut feeling the Lakers are not going to get this top 3 protected pick. I believe the Sixers. Now people are going to call me crazy for this, but I believe the Sixers are going to get picks 2 and 4.
Calling it right now.
I'm calling it right now. I believe, I have a gut feeling the Sixers would get the number 2 pick in the draft along with the number 4 pick in the draft. Now, if my predictions are right, people ask me, well, who will you take? At 4, I would take Jason Tatum. I believe Jason Tatum is, he's from Duke, so, I believe I have that whole Duke fluke thing.
Yes.
But honestly, there's something about Jason Tatum when I watch him play. I see a young Carmelo Anthony offensively with the best talent in the world offensively. Will go get you a bucket whenever you need it. Can knock down his shots. Just offensively gifted. Okay, I see a young Carmelo Anthony with that. And with my number 2 pick, I would Markelle Fultz.
I can see that.
Markelle Fultz and Jason Tatum. Honestly, the 2 best fits that can go with the Sixers.
I just don't know how Tatum would fit, because isn't he a forward?
Okay, so we have this whole thing. Brett Brown always comes out and says, Ben Simmons is going to be your point guard.
Yeah, I know he's been saying that.
I don't know how that's going to work.
I don't know how it's going to work either.
But I'm not. Listen, if that's what Brett Brown wants to do, I'm all in. I'm trusting the process right now. So if you put Ben Simmons at your 1, Fultz at your 2, Tatum at your 3, Sarge at your 4, and Embiid at your 5, perfectly fine with me. Rashawn Holmes, I would have him being Embiid's replacement, although a lot of people don't believe Embiid can stick for 82 games. I don't think it can happen.
Yeah, I do not believe that he's going to play full 82
And I say it all the
games.
time, Rashawn Holmes is honestly an upgrade to me of Nerlens Noel. He's more athletic and more explosive. And he's that hype man coming off the bench.
And he can hit the 3-point shot, too, more consistently than Noel can.
Yeah. But that's that. Who would you take if the Sixers end up getting 2 picks in the first round?
Well, I know Brett Brown has been saying Ben Simmons point guard, but I don't really know. But with the second pick, I'm definitely going Markelle Fultz. If he's there, take him heartbeat. Take him in a heartbeat. And with the 4th pick, I would either trade down 1 or 2 spots, or if you want to go for a reach, I would just take Malik Monk with the 4th pick. Because a lot of teams, you can either draft best available, or you can draft by need. And I know Malik Monk is not he's a great talent, but he's not a top, the top talent. Mm-hmm. So I would either trade down a couple of spots and then take him there, or just reach and take him at 4. Because you'll have your shooting guard of the future, and you'll have your point guard in the future in Fultz and Monk.
Well,
and then you have Simmons at the 3. And Simmons can just play point forward. But if Brett Brown says Simmons point guard, then I'll trust the process. I like Tatum too. I'll take any of those guys. I don't see Ben Simmons as a point guard. I've been talking about Ben Simmons point guard, and I post pictures to my friends all the time saying, look, Brett Brown is saying Ben Simmons point guard, and they're like, no, he's playing point forward. But Brett Brown continues to say he's point guard. I just think he's going to be a point forward. So
what the Sixers can do is have a Cavaliers situation. You could have, if they were to draft Markelle Fultz, that's your Kyrie Irving. Ben Simmons is your LeBron James. Now you say the Sixers can go and get Malik Monk, who will be your J.R. Smith. Then you have Embiid and Sarge. Or the Sixers can possibly do another situation, like a Cavaliers situation, but it'll be a more of a bigger J.R. Smith and Jason Tatum. Because Markelle Fultz will obviously be your Kyrie Irving. Simmons will still be your LeBron. Because, LeBron plays 41 minutes of the game, and
I don't know how he does it at 33 years old.
I don't know, but I just completely lost myself. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're talking about Tatum.
Yeah. So, but I mean, just Tatum would just be a bigger version. I think he's more offensively gifted than what J.R. Smith will be in a couple years to come. And I think it's time where the Sixers start. I mean, okay, you know how you brought up the whole Malik Monk thing? You would reach and grab him at 4?
Or trade down a couple
Yeah,
spots.
or trade down. I honestly think that if the Sixers were to take Markelle Fultz, were able to get him, he will be your best, well, not your best available, your team need. And at that time, best player available. If the Sixers were to get him, I think he's fitting both positions, both things at one. But I just think if the Sixers were to get the 4th pick, what my prediction was, my gut feeling was at 4, I think you would have to go best player available. Because now you got your need and best player available at that time, which is Markelle Fultz.
Yes.
Now you can just go best player available. And I think at that point will be Jason Tatum. And I also think, again, he can be a need that the Sixers need because we need shooters badly. People have said, well, De'Aaron Fox, you're putting a bad shooter already on a bad shooting team. He could be the most NBA-ready player, but come on, the Sixers and Brett Brown have come out and said he wants shooters. And I think the only team, the best team De'Aaron Fox will fit best with, my opinion, is the Knicks. I think that's his best fit.
I can see that. I can see his fit in New York. New York needs that point guard that can take control with Porzingis. I don't know what they're going to do with Carmelo Anthony.
Because if we're so big on Ben Simmons being our point guard, then he's obviously going to have the ball in his hands. So when you take away... So let's say if the Sixers were to take De'Aaron Fox, the ball is not in his hands. Can he make plays without the ball in his hands? He didn't show it at Kentucky. The one who showed to make plays without the ball in their hand was Malik Monk. He showed he can make plays without the ball in his hand. Jason Tatum has showed he can make plays without the ball in his hand. De'Aaron Fox, not too sure if he can make it. I didn't necessarily see it a lot, and I don't think he can do it at the NBA level. Yes, I understand. He can be, well, he probably is the most NBA-ready guard coming out this year's draft. But I don't think I honestly think if you're going to put the ball in Simmons' hands, then you need players who will make plays without the ball in their hand. And I don't think De'Aaron Fox is one of them. It's just how I feel about that situation.
Because Fox is a great player now.
He is.
Yeah, and I agree with your statement with the Knicks. I think he'll be a great pick for the New York Knicks. He would fit great with the New York Knicks because he runs great with pick and rolls. He's more of like that ball handler the Knicks need. So I completely get what you're saying on that.
And honestly, I have talked to people who said, well, it'll be best if the Sixers don't get the Lakers pick this season. I don't necessarily agree with that. Let me tell you why. Next season, if the Sixers don't get the Lakers pick this season, next season, the Lakers pick is hands down the Sixers pick.
Yes.
So the Sixers will have 2 picks. But we've seen this year, the Lakers purposely tanked, so they can get a high enough pick with significant talent on that team.
And they won. They won like their last
yes.
like 5 games
now,
like idiots.
Next season, where they for sure know they're not going to get a pick next season in the first round. So they're going to play with all their talent, have all their talent on the floor, put all their pieces of the puzzle together. For what? So the Sixers can mess around and get maybe the 10th pick or a top 15 pick when the Sixers can have 2 picks in the top 5 this season? I don't want 2 picks in the top 15. I want 2 picks in the top 5. Because if the Lakers did that this season just so they can get a good pick and have a good percentage to get a top 3 pick. What do you think they'll do next season to screw the Sixers over? So that way the Sixers don't get to top 10, top 5
and also,
picks.
you don't even know who the Lakers might get in the offseason. They're talking about Paul George coming to L.A.
Paul George.
Russell Westbrook coming to L.A. Someone's coming to L.A.
So the Sixers would definitely be screwed at that point. Because now, if you ask me, that's a playoff team. Paul George and Russell Westbrook on one team, that's a playoff team if you ask me. And honestly, I feel like what the Lakers did this season, trading away Lou Williams because he played too good, and benching a lot of their starters, and purposely losing games. Honestly, if they didn't do all of that, to me, they would have made a push for that 8th seed. They would have made a run for that 8th seed, and possibly could have got it. To me, they would have had a good chance to get that 8th seed if they didn't do all of that. So, Question, people. Do you want to have 2 picks in the top 15? Or 2 picks, going to be more realistic here, in the top 7 picks for this season? Knowing how loaded, well, not necessarily loaded, but how good there's going to be a lot of these picks coming out in this year's draft. Because we don't know who's coming out next year. We just don't know who's going to come out next year. You might find that.
But this time next year, it'll be the same thing. We'll know who's.
Yeah, we don't know. But do you want to go like, honestly, I don't want to pass up on a talent like Lonzo Ball or Markelle Fultz with Jason Tatum, Malik Monk. Like, I think those players right there are going to be the face of the NBA in years to come.
I agree.
The future is now. If you ask me.
The future is now.
Like, are the faces of the NBA, like the NBA players who are the face of the league? You have like LeBron, Russ, KD.
They're all
Steph.
getting old. They're all 28 right now.
They're all like 28 and older. I mean, isn't Steph Curry about to turn 30?
Well, I believe he's 28 now, so he's going to probably turn 29 soon.
He's already 29.
He is?
He's already 29. I think he's turning 30 sometime coming up. LeBron, 33. 32 or 30, one of those 2 ages. Like, these players are getting old, so that's why I make the statement, the future is now. Because by the time they start to slow down, and these top players, the faces of the franchise, like faces of the league type players, start to wear down, our generation of players, these players that are our age, will be coming up and taking the league by storm.
I can see that.
So,
anything else you want to talk about, or are you ready to move on to our next topic?
let's hit our next topic because I want your opinion on this.
Okay, so over the weekend, I've been listening to Jake's advice, and I've been listening and watching to hockey a lot more, and in the NHL playoffs, and the games are highly competitive. The scores are close. Other than the other night when the Oilers won 7-1 against the Ducks, but the games have been highly competitive. There's been I believe 11 or 12 overtime hockey games in the postseason so far, whereas the NBA, it's been blowout after blowout. The NHL, it's been close competitive games. And we see ESPN, they have bowling tournaments, they have tennis tournaments, they show baseball, they show football on Monday night, they show basketball games all the time, but they don't show hockey. And I know hockey is not under contract with ESPN. Hockey is under contract with NBC, and NBC's making a lot of money because of that. But I just believe that the ESPN is losing a lot of money by not airing hockey games and nationally televising hockey games. And I know hockey's not as popular as basketball, football, and a little bit of baseball, but popularity can always increase the more you air it nationally. That's what I think. When I talk to when I talk to a lot of people, they're like, we don't really like hockey, we don't really know hockey. It's because hockey isn't really nationally televised on the major networks that we see. Basketball's on ABC, it's on ESPN. A lot of people don't have those extra channels hockey's on, the NHL network, the other networks. You have to pay extra to get those. So like based off of basic TV, hockey's only on NBC, and it's rarely on like NBC. It's rarely on like the main NBC channel. It's like on NBCSN or something like that. So it's not really on like a big name channel. And then people always hit me with these, we don't really know the players' arguments. The players' names are hard to pronounce. What about basketball players' names? Like you have guys like Ante DeCumpo, and you have, I can't even pronounce it, Dellavedova. Mm-hmm. Like you have names in basketball that are hard to pronounce too, just like in hockey. Mm-hmm. It's just hockey, they don't air it as much. And I think that they should air at the NHL games more, because hockey is one of the 4 major sports in our country: baseball, basketball, football, and hockey. Those are the 4 major sports, in my opinion. And I just think the games are highly competitive, and ESPN is losing a lot of money. I think ESPN recently cut a lot of their employees,
about
too.
100 employees.
Yeah, because they're running out of money. If you want to make more money, bring in NHL. Like, besides Mel Rose coming in for like for a 2-minute segment,
mm-hmm.
I just think that's why ESPN is losing a lot of fans and a lot of views, is because you're a national sports network. You're supposed to broaden your audience. You don't want to just talk about NBA all the time. I mean, I love the NBA, but you also got to bring in the other sports too.
Now, this one I have to cut you short at. I think when it comes to the whole NHL being on ESPN and being on, national televised, and people would not always have a cable, but like us here, like we don't have cable, but we get the basic channels. I think it's a popularity thing. Hockey's not a popular, yes, it's one of the 4 major sports, but if you combine them in popularity, I'm pretty sure the NHL would be last. So it's not very a popularity thing. Now this is where I'm gonna have to correct you at. We just said that ESPN fired at least 100 employees, and if they hired got hockey on there, got a contract with the NHL, the money will go up. I don't think it's that. I think it's that, like you said, ESPN covers all sports. And, let's say the most popular sport right now was football. Well, if you go to ESPN, not only are they going to cover football, they got to cover basketball, tennis, hockey, bowling, probably cricket, all these other things, which cuts into your football time. Now, every major city and every major state in the country has Comcast Sportsnet. And you also got MLB TV, and you also got NBA TV and the NFL Network.
And the NHL Network as well.
And the NHL Network as well. Now, if you just want to stick to that one sport, you can easily leave ESPN and go to your Comcast Sportsnet, where they're only going to cover the teams in your city. Or you can go to NFL Network, where they're only going to cover football. Or if you want to watch basketball, stick to basketball, you can turn on NBA TV and just stick to NBA. Or if you want to watch baseball, you want to stick to baseball, you can just turn on the MLB Network. You want to watch hockey, like in Jake's purpose, if he's a hockey man. If he wants to stick to hockey and doesn't want to hear about any other sport, you can just turn on the NHL channel. Now, that's where I had to correct you at, because, like you said, ESPN, they carry every single sport and just throw it into 1 hour televised program. And it just cuts in to what you really want to know, what you really want to get down to, and what sport you really want to focus on. When you can just, like I said, you can turn on any of those other channels that I just named for sports. That 1 hour is literally just on that one sport. You can literally learn so many things from that 1 hour, and just for that one sport in 1 hour, than having to sit there and probably get like a 15-minute segment on what you want to know and what you want to learn and what you want to discuss or hear about.
And they also don't even talk about like your specific team that you want to listen to. It's always the popular teams, like the Warriors.
And if you want to get to your specific team, like here in Philly, we have Comcast Sportsnet Philly. Well, we could just turn that channel on and probably get about, let's say, if each show airs about half an hour, and let's say if whichever sport is more popular out, say basketball. For that half an hour, you're probably going to get 17 minutes. Not even 17 minutes because you got to cut the commercials in too. I'm just going to put it like this. You're going to get a better portion hearing about the Sixers because that's the hottest sport out, which would be the NBA at that time. You're going to hear more about the Sixers than you're going to hear about the Flyers or the Eagles or the Phillies in our city.
Well, the Flyers and Sixers, they played at the same time. They have like right now the NHL playoffs are on the same time as the basketball playoffs. And I get what you're saying,
and that goes back to the
I agree,
and that goes back to the popularity thing, because when we walk around and you know how you just walk by somebody's conversation, it could be a sports conversation. How many conversations, just on average, you hear more basketball conversations or more hockey conversations?
More basketball.
It's a popularity thing, if you ask me. That's why you don't see NHL games on ESPN. Might be because they don't have not even on ESPN. But on national televised channels, basic channels, because it's a popularity thing.
I just think as a sports fan, you should know, like, whatever teams in your city, like if in Philadelphia we have Eagles, Flyers, Sixers, and Phillies. I believe as an average sports fan around this local area, you should know all 4 of your teams and should follow them pretty well.
I don't follow hockey, so I'm not one of those people.
I know. And it's weird because a lot of players that follow basketball a lot do not follow hockey at all, and a lot of people that follow hockey do not know basketball at all.
And what's the most popular sport out right now?
Basketball. Basketball is the most popular sport right now. I just think more people should be more aware of hockey, only because the games are highly competitive. Yeah. And right now, the reason why I've been watching so much hockey is because the basketball playoffs have been just one-sided. Like, the best game of the playoffs, in my opinion, was the Grizzlies and Spurs game, but they were just going back and forth. And the game in which Marcus All hit the game winner. Like, I was like, finally, an underdog like, gives a good team a good run.
But the Grizzlies always give the Spurs a good run. At every single season. Every single time they play in the playoffs. Yeah. The Grizzlies just give the Spurs a good run for their money.
I just think, though, a lot of people need to be more aware of hockey more. That's just my opinion, because it may be not as popular, but it can become more popular if more people would pay the time to listen to it and watch it. And I just think ESPN, since it's a major sports network, they should bring in they should at least air a couple, like, the big-time hockey games, like a big rivalry game or something. I know as a Flyers fan, I know that our big rivals, like the Penguins or something like that. Maybe, like, they can air, like, a game, like Flyers versus Penguins on, like, a big-time night.
Another thing I just thought about when it comes to hockey, I'm the type of person that doesn't always, I never, ever bring this into a conversation, like, but I think race definitely plays a part.
I was thinking about that, but I just didn't want to talk about it.
Because when we watch hockey, majority of the players are white. I'm Hispanic. I don't know one single Hispanic player in the NHL.
Yeah, I don't really know.
And I had asked this question: how many African American players are in the NHL? And they told me it was like 4. And that same person, I don't know if they're, pardon me, I don't even know if they're right, but he told me that those 4 African American players are Canadian. I don't know. I'm just going off what this person said. So you have 4 African American players with 0 Hispanic Latino players in the NHL. What will follow those players is their culture. So I'm pretty sure we had more Hispanic Latino players in the NHL. I'm pretty sure they're gonna bring their culture and another culture into the NHL, and more people are gonna want to watch that. Same with African American. If a black person was in the NHL, or more black people was in the NHL, then they're gonna bring that culture with them. And you can see the same thing when it comes to basketball, baseball, and football. Like
I
those
just,
three sports are so, you know, diverse. Not diverse, but like
those
like
two, baseball and football, in my opinion, are more diverse. I mean,
like with those
basketball,
two sports.
80% of the league is. I don't want to like bring this up, but 80% of the league is African American,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have like the rest is just like like a little bit of Hispanic, and then the rest is white.
Well, let me just say like football and baseball. There's three like there's so many cultures in those two sports. Like now we have players from the UK getting drafted into the league in the NFL. We get players in the MLB coming from Santo Domingo, Puerto Rico, China, Japan, everywhere. And the NHL is really,
Yeah, you got Canada, you got Russia.
and it's just like a one color sport. Honestly, if you ask me, like I probably Wayne Sims is the only black person I know in the NHL, and that's because he plays for the Flyers. Besides that, I don't know any other black hockey player.
I don't really like. I don't
even
really know that many either for
one
hockey.
Latino Hispanic player in the NHL.
Yeah, I believe there's no Hispanics.
So I think because of that, it doesn't get like their cultural, like their people to watch the sport as well.
It need to be more diverse.
Yeah,
And that's just something the league's going to have to take the next step of doing.
I hope they can do it.
I just think it's hard, though, because if you think about it, like the warmer weather climate, like, you know, like the Caribbean and stuff like that, like where mostly like Hispanics are, like Mexico, got all the like countries there. They don't really, I don't really know if they really like play hockey that much. Like, you know, like there's just some places where they just don't play like that one sport.
Yeah,
Like basketball in Canada has become a new hit thing. So I will say that, like, probably within the next like decade or two, we're going to see more Canadian basketball players in the NBA.
well, there's already a lot of Canadian basketball
Yes.
players in the NBA now as we speak. But I mean, basketball is global now. It's all around the world. Everywhere you go, you're most likely going to see a kid working on a jump shot. Anywhere that is. And I don't think you can go anywhere around the world and see a kid working on what is that?
A deke or I
A
don't know.
trick shot to be in the NHL one day. I don't think you're normally going to get that. And like you said, culture, weather most likely is going to play a big part in that too. Because when we go to like, I'm just going to use this one country for example, Puerto Rico. It's so warm over there.
Yeah, there's no ice skating rinks.
There's no ice skating rink, so you're not going to see a kid working on a slap shot. But you'll most likely see a kid playing soccer or playing basketball or playing football or baseball. That's
Yes,
that's what it's more prone to.
I agree. I just didn't know we were gonna go in that direction. That's all I was thinking about that.
I mean, I'm not the person that normally brings that up.
Yeah, I don't.
But in
bring
some
it up either.
situations, it might just have to be brought up. I mean, in some other people's view, it might not have to be brought up in this type of topic, but to me, it just had to, because like I said, when you watch hockey, it's normally a white player league in hockey, and that person, I'm not gonna give no sources out, might be wrong, I don't know, but that person told me only like four black players in the NHL. So I don't know. That's that though. One sport we did talk about that was a diverse sport was the NFL. And when we talked about popularity and ESPN, the city of Philadelphia, and football, there has been many reports and many sources going around about Mark Ingram coming to Philadelphia. Now, remember when I had told you about Mark Ingram coming to Philly in the first place?
Yes.
But this is for a completely different trade. Max Unger, center of the New Orleans Saints, has went down in injury, and obviously we have Jason Kelsey, who was reported early in the offseason, to be on the trading block. And the
Perfect
Eagles
timing.
need a running back.
Perfect time.
And the Saints are stacked at the running back position. Now, if you're thinking what I'm thinking here, Jason Kelsey, Mark Ingram.
And probably a pick.
No, you can't give up a pick. That's the type of situation.
True.
Because Mark Ingram is in the contract year, so right now he's forced to play very, very well. Not saying that'll be a, something to throw at you about not being a pick, but Jason Kelsey, Mark Ingram, straight up swap. I'll be down for it.
I'll be down for it too.
We need a running back.
Now, what do we do in the center position though? If we get rid of Jason Kelsey.
We still have Stefan Wisniewski, and they just signed an undrafted free agent center, I think a week ago.
Okay, so
he was from West Virginia as well.
I'll look that up while you continue your point.
So, I personally would like to trade. And just one other thing that came up to mind was, earlier when I was thinking about it, how would you feel if the Eagles made a trade for Carlos Hyde?
From the 49ers, right? He's still in the 49ers?
Yeah, from the 49ers.
Depends on what we give up. I mean, he only shows up week 1 of the season, in my opinion. He always has a big week 1, and then he just goes cold for the rest of the year. I really wouldn't give up a lot to get him. And if the 49ers want us to give up a lot, I would not accept the trade. That's just my opinion with Carlos Hyde. He's a good running back. But based off of what I've seen, he really just doesn't impress me unless it's week 1 of the season. That's just my opinion with him.
Now, I mean, I necessarily get where you're coming from. I just think that he can't contribute as much as I think he'll be able to, because he's hurt. And that line in San Francisco is just atrocious. It's just bad. So I think if he can stay healthy and bring him to a line that Philly has, then he'll definitely be 1,000-yard back. Definitely. Same thing with Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram, I think if he was to come to Philly, he'll be 1,000-yard back too. The only thing that scares me about that is that he's in a contract year. So if he does play well and reach the 1,000-yard mark, he's going to want money. And next season, the Eagles will still have to re-sign Alshon Jeffrey. And
but the Eagles already got my boy Corey Clement.
Yeah,
they got my boy Corey Clement.
They do have him, but a lot of people are he's flying under a lot of radars.
Oh yeah, and his name is Tyler. I'm sorry if I pronounce his last name wrong. It's Orlowski, West Virginia. Like you said, he's from West Virginia. I know I completely pronounced his last name wrong. I apologize.
It's cool.
So we got some backup centers.
Mm-hmm. And remember, we also still have Isaac Samula, who I think he'll be a good center. We also still have Big V. I'm not gonna say his last name because I don't know how to say his last name. So
Big V.
Yeah, his nickname is Big V. Mm-hmm.
Real quick, do you want to do a quick Super Bowl prediction or now? You ready to?
For next season?
Yeah. Are you ready to wrap this up? Is it too early?
I think it's too early. I mean, but if you want to go with a Super Bowl one, spit me your team.
Well, this is very early. I'll go. I think the Patriots will come out of the AFC just because it's the Patriots, and I'm not gonna bash them. I will think though their tests will be a lot tougher this year than it was last year. I think that the Texans got better, but Deshaun Watson is a rookie, so I think he will make a couple rookie mistakes. I don't think Deshaun Watson's gonna have the season like Dak Prescott had last year. I mean, he can prove me wrong, because he's proven everyone wrong in the past. But I think Deshaun Watson will lead them to the playoffs. But I just think that since it's his rookie year, I just don't see the Texans. Not yet. They're not ready yet. Mm-hmm. I think in a couple years they will be. I think the Raiders will give the Patriots a tough run in the AFC title game. But I just think the Patriots will prevail at the end. And then the NFC is just a toss-up. Every year it's someone different. Every year you do not know. Like the Packers can be in it every year, but I just don't think. I mean, they had a good draft. They drafted a lot of defense, but I just don't see the Packers coming out I don't see Dallas either. Their defense doesn't scare me. They lost a lot on defense, and they got a lot of rookies. But again, they're rookies. You're not going to come into the NFL and immediately replace the guys that you replace, even though their secondary wasn't really the best. So I think coming out of the NFC, I got to either go, because I don't really like Seattle either. I don't. A lot of people say Seattle. I don't really like Seattle. The NFC is tough for me. I would probably see either, because it's always a team we do not expect to be in it. I think the Panthers can get another good run, but I don't know. I can't really give you an NFC right now, but the AFC, I can give you the AFC. That's just my opinion.
Well, I think my Super Bowl prediction will have to be a lot of people are going to criticize me for this, the Oakland Raiders and the Seattle Seahawks.
I can see that.
Seattle's getting back Earl Thomas. They're getting Bam Bam. Richard Sherman. They still got, I still believe they still have that title of the, what's the name for the defense again? I'm sorry.
Legion of Boom.
The Legion of Boom. I believe they still have that intact. They just got Eddie Lacy. Still have Russell Wilson, who last season really didn't play the best to his ability because he was hurt.
Then they also get Latavius Murray.
No, Latavius Murray went to the
Vikings. Yes, my fault.
So you have Eddie Lacy, who's coming back healthy off an injury. You have Earl Thomas, who's coming back healthy. Bam Bam, who's healthy. Richard Sherman, who's healthy. You just hope that defensive line, this with the draft. You have Russell Wilson, dangerous Russell Wilson. So the Seahawks, in my opinion, are gonna go back. You have Jimmy Graham, who showed flashes of being that productive tight end that we seen with the Saints. You know, Doug Baldwin, who he's not an eye-popping name, but his stats will show for him. His stats will show the last 2 seasons he's broke the 1,000-yard mark. He's been very productive. Went to the Pro Bowl. So that, he's not an eye-popping name, like I said, but his stats and numbers at the end of the day do not disappoint. So I believe, considering all of that into it, the Seahawks are my team coming out the NFC. And for the AFC, it really hurt the Raiders with Derek Carr going down. They didn't have a consistent, running game. Now with the signing of Marshawn Lynch, if you ask me, is still one of the better backs in the league. Coming back now, he's playing for a team that he wants to play for. Because I believe ever since Seattle blew that game by not giving him the ball, he did not want to be there anymore. But now going to a team that he wants to play for, and his hometown team, and with Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree coming back to life. After that, Saints, not the Saints, the 49ers, after his career was just going downhill after that.
Yes.
He signed with the Raiders. Now his career's back on. It's back going. Amari Cooper, who's one of the better receivers in the league, with Derek Carr, that great offensive line, Khalil Mack. They just drafted that one cornerback I can't remember his name. They drafted a cornerback. What's his name?
I can't remember.
Conley, I think it was.
Oh.
Garyon Conley?
Yes, from Ohio State.
Yeah, they drafted him.
That was a good pick.
So, I definitely think, with Conley coming back, with Conley being drafted, Marshawn Lynch and Derek Carr coming back, that's a wrecking force team right there. I think that, yeah. Those are my 2 picks to be in the Super Bowl.
I can see that. That'd be a good Super Bowl. Now, while you were talking, I was thinking about my NFC team. I would either go. I could see a rematch, honestly, because Atlanta got better.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta got a lot better too with their additions. And again, they didn't really lose anybody either. They still have Freeman. They still have Coleman, right?
They still have both running backs. But the thing that scares me is they lost their offensive coordinator, who was calling the plays for them.
Yeah, that's why I think what hurts them.
So that's that honestly right there, to me, hurts them. I don't think it's going to be too much of a drop-off, but I think it's going to be a drop-off. because what's his name? The coach, what was it? Shanahan, I think it was.
Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan.
49ers.
He's an offensive genius, if you ask me. Doing what he did with the Falcons and averaging 30 points a game. So, to me, he's an offensive genius. And I think him leaving just hurts the team.
I can see that. I'm probably going to go, I have New England in the AFC. And then in the NFC, I'm probably going to have to go, I'm going to go a different direction. I'm going to go the Arizona Cardinals.
Ooh.
I'm going to go
Why
somewhere
the Cardinals?
Different. Big question marks with Carson Palmer. Big question marks. I think that he will take that step forward one more time. I just think he has one more year left in him. And I really like their draft. Their draft really got me eye-opening. Like, they got Hassan Reddick. They got a linebacker. They have their defensive line. Their defensive line is nice. They have Patrick Peterson. You have the Golden Badger as your secondary. They got more secondary help in the draft. So I just think I think their defense will take that step that they were lacking. And again, a lot of games that they had last year were close, down to the wire. They were just like the Eagles that they're probably like the Eagles. They just didn't have enough to get you to that next step, which they were like a season before. I just think that their defense will take a big step. I think the rookie, I forget who they drafted, but they drafted a corner that I really like. And I think under Patrick Peterson's leadership, I think he can get him under his belt, and they have a nice little secondary there. And I just want to go a different direction because everyone goes with the Seahawks, everyone goes with the Packers. So I just wanted to bring out a different team.
I'm confused a little bit. Like,
I know.
I mean, that pick threw me off. I mean,
I want to go somewhere different. It's really early.
I like your train of thought over there. I definitely do like you, but the thing that scares me with the Cardinals is last season they were a two-man team. Without David Johnson and Larry Fitzgerald, they weren't winning as many games. They didn't get any help from John Brown nor Michael Floyd. Carson Palmer didn't really have that great of a year either.
I know he didn't. And
the defense didn't really contribute. I mean, they contributed because it's a great elite defense, but they didn't contribute like they had in past years.
You just know how sometimes it's just not your season.
Yeah.
Because they were just in the NFC title game just 2 years ago.
They were. And they lost to the Panthers.
And I just think they got better on the defensive side of the ball. And then offensively, again, the reason why I'm a little iffy with this pick is because of Carson Palmer. I don't really have faith in him. But I just want to throw a different team out there that a lot of people really sleep on. I think they're a sleeper team this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to throw that name out there. It's early. I mean, it's not my exact Super Bowl prediction yet. One of our podcasts later down the road.
Yeah, one of our podcasts is probably like forever from now. We're going to be like, yeah, well, this is our Super Bowl prediction, which probably will be different.
Yeah, this is just like our end of the podcast conversation, just to get our minds open for the next one. So, ready to wrap this up?
Yes,
so, again, show friends, show family, like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Swoop Podcast _. And this is Josh and Dante signing off.
Swoop!
Swoop!